think you muted, Hiram.
Here we go.
Now, here we go.
Again,
And welcome.
and welcome. It's I thought it was me. It takes a mind of its own. So another episode of LinkedIn Perspective with my friend and co-host Marcus Newcomb, and we're going to be able to talk about quite a few things as far as business leadership. But without further ado, Marcus, please introduce yourself so people can get a feel of what's going on. Okay.
So thank you, Hiram, and welcome everyone to our today's show. I'll make it brief today. I do one thing. I challenge my clients. They are corporate leaders, they're managers, and they're entrepreneurs to do one thing, to develop the courage to push boundaries. And you see what happens actually when they push boundaries. They start chasing their dreams. They unlock their potential for greater influence, more impact, better income, and deeper fulfillment. So this is pretty much who I am. I am a leadership catalyst, and leadership catalyst does, I'm helping people to overcome what holds them back. I take what's existing and I help them to remodel so they can actually remove what holds them back and finally go straight forward toward what they want to achieve. So I'm living in Switzerland. I'm married to a beautiful woman from Boston. That's why I have my affiliation to the US. I love working with people from the US. I love to drive, as you know, Hiram. And I pretty much understand what's going on in the United States right now and combine it with the calm coming from Europe and level-headedness, which sometimes is missing a little bit in the US culture, especially in corporate. So that's from me. So I'm really looking forward, Hiram, to today's session. As we said last time, we're going to talk a little bit about networking and working the net. And I hope our viewers do interact with us and that they share their questions, their inputs.
So Marcus, I'm sorry, Marcus. Go ahead.
Just go ahead.
So we're going to be able to discuss about how to network and how is it that we were able to network on, the opposite sides of the pond. I believe that this is very important for a number of reasons, is to able to level up on what you're doing as far as you as a professional. Also to understand that sometimes when people network, they network for the wrong reasons, or they overpromise and underdeliver at the same time when it comes to professionalism, mentoring, and understanding how to reinvent themselves. And people really need to understand, not only from a veteran perspective, from a business perspective, and as far as a professional's perspective, but the biggest thing, personal growth. And correct me if I'm wrong, Marcus, I've been one of your, clients and doing a lot of sessions, but from your side, when you're doing the leadership catalyst and strategist, can you elaborate as far as those type of development skill sets, if you mean, please?
You mean in terms of the networking?
Yes, as far as the networking is concerned.
Okay. You see what's so interesting, Hiram? With whoever I talk, they wished they could network. And I'm really curious to read from our viewers what they actually believe networking is all about. So here's my invitation to you guys who are watching us and following us. Please share in the chat, what do you believe networking is all about? Because it's extremely important, and I'm just curious to see what kind of ideas are floating around. So are you able to spot some inputs already, Hiram, in your chat?
Everybody's saying good morning, and everything else is saying good morning. We're watching. Good evening. They're watching from different parts of the country. So that's
wonderful.
But you can put down on the chat as well to let them know, hey, if you feel that you have any questions. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to call at 562-286-3111. You can text me, you can answer it, or you can put it at the chat so Marcus and myself can answer some questions. And this is pretty much the reason why we're doing this on LinkedIn Perspective, is to be able to utilize the platform of LinkedIn to maximize the opportunities of social media networking, also to affiliate ourselves with like-minded people that can be able to generate a opportunity for their business and personal growth. Finally, the last piece to this is that with people that are having challenges to be able to get different type of businesses or careers, I think you need someone like Marcus to be able to have a fresh perspective and see it from a mutual but calm perspective of how things are approached, because a lot of people tend to not get out of their way. Correct, Marcus?
Absolutely. So let's talk about networking a little bit. And let me kick it off with a question for you, Hiram. What do you believe is one of the biggest challenges with networking? Why do so many people fail when they try to network?
I believe people fail to network because they're not having the right approach. They think this is like Facebook or like some other social media network. And especially the network standpoint is, if you're bringing something that is a significant value in your skill set, you should be able to network with people that have the same like-mindedness, that can say, hey, we can collaborate. Maybe I can learn something from you. You can learn something from me. This is the challenge that I need to do. And I'm running into a problem. This is where you develop professional relationships. Others tend to overpromise and underdeliver. The last aspect of it is that people like to just take and not give. So those are the challenges I see from that.
I believe
So
you're spot on, especially with the last one, Hiram. You see, whoever I talk to about networking, what they're telling me is it's about me. I am the most important part. I want something. I know what I want, and the other person has to give it to me. So let's look what Benoit writes. Networking for me is connecting with like-minded people who may or may not have the same interests. Very nice definition, Benoit. Thank you so much. You see, a mentor of mine, David Meltzer, he says, be more interested than interesting. And so many people go into networking trying to be very interesting. They're trying to make the other person want to help them. Does that make sense, Hiram?
Oh yeah, most definitely. And that's why people have challenges. Here's what I'm looking at. People are now catching on to LinkedIn as one of the premier platforms of networking, where LinkedIn has been around for over 20 years. Myself has been able to network with everybody else. Now they ask questions, how you have been able to collaborate and network. You have to be consistent. You have to be able to put yourself out there in a vulnerable state, but put content that catches people's eyes, that they want to network with you. You have another question from Leo that wants to address that as well.
Yeah, Leo, actually, I just read your input, and it's really interesting. Overcome my fear of language barriers. I can tell you, Leo, when I started out, my English was very preliminary. And what really happened is, until I understood, as long as the other person understands what I want to say, I actually have succeeded. And the question is, why is that? Because some other people, Leo, for example, you could very much imagine that other people are put off by the language barriers. And with other people, people do not care. And why do you think that is?
I don't know. So you have another question right here, and here it is. We'll read that right there.
My perspective, when you go with the intent to give and not take, chances are you will build long-term relationship and will be able to connect. Bravo, Ankit. You see, this is something which most people do not understand. They feel I should receive, or you definitely have heard of the saying give and take. I think this is very common today in all societies, give and take. And imagine what actually happens when people network, Hiram. They give. And why do they give? Because they want to take.
Mm-hmm.
And if I give because I want to take or I want to have, that's conditional. And
Correct.
people do not like it, especially if I need something that I approach someone conditional. They don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
So if I actually switch the whole thing, that's what I did when I was teaching my classes and my coaches. I was actually asking them, who is the most important person in a network relationship? And it is absolutely the other person. I can tell you of an example. I was at an exhibition and I had a conversation at a dinner party later. And lo and behold, I was talking more than an hour about that person's business, about that person's family. I knew so much about him in the end until he suddenly said, Mr. Newcomb, now we've talked more than an hour about myself. Who are you? What do you do? And what do you stand for? Have you ever heard these questions being asked that you are actually invited to share about you? No, very rarely happens. So the only reason why this happens was because I was more interested in that person than
Mm-hmm.
trying to be interesting. And remember, like a couple of sessions ago, we spoke about introversion and extroversion. And I said, someone who's introverted is much better at networking than someone who's extroverted. Because someone who's extroverted is all about me, is all about look at me, look at me, look at me. And someone who's introverted actually provides the other person a platform which they can shine. And when the other person can shine, suddenly the question comes, hey, Hiram, what can I do for you?
Right.
That's what it comes down to. So
So we
what I
have.
learned in networking is sharing ideas and learning from them. Then you can share some knowledge. This is beautiful, Joanne. And I hope you don't mind, but I'm giving you an advice which you should try out. Instead of sharing ideas, start asking questions. Do not share, ask questions. And what really comes counterintuitive is I'm actually at best in terms of networking when I'm tired. Can you imagine why that is, Hiram?
Oh, you're putting out a lot of energy out there. And the thing about it is when you're networking, you're communicating. People don't understand that you have to have a knack of it. This is a craft, a science. Sometimes people are born to be, great communicators, networking and everything else. But when you get to a level of professionalism to network, there is a catalyst of your character that brings significant value, not only to yourself, but others, because they view you in a different lens. So when you're putting out that much energy, you are tired because you're passionate. You're explaining yourself. It's just like when people run for office, they're, giving speeches, they're speaking, they're putting their heart out. After a while, you get tired. So you have another question right there.
So let me just answer this one because it's actually really crucial for everyone who listens and watches. When you're tired, you speak much less and you listen automatically. And I can tell you, when you're in a network situation where you feel tired, welcome that. All you have to do is you have to ask some initial questions, and the conversation literally starts taking place. The other person loves to talk about themselves, loves to talk about what's going on. And all you have to do is say sometimes, that's interesting. Okay, thanks. That's an interesting point. Can you elaborate more on that? And then you actually just add an additional question which shows interest into the other person's perspective. And that person goes on and on and on. And I can tell you, I have received the best feedback when I'm tired in terms of networking, how interesting I was as a conversationalist, as a partner in a conversation. So literally try that out, share less, ask more, and listen more. And I'm coming to Ankit in a second, because you see, there's something really vital. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Can you imagine why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth? Because we should listen the double of what we speak. This is pretty much the ratio. If you can actually listen the double of the amount as you speak, you will be a master conversationalist in the shortest term. So now, Ankit, to you. 80 of 100 times people will reciprocate. So when you take out the take dimension from your subconscious, odds of a good relationship are pretty good versus a transactional relationship. This is absolutely true, Ankit. Thank you very much for sharing. Unfortunately, for most people, when they read that, it's pretty much theory. Because you see, if it was that easy to just, yeah, please leave that for a second, Harry. When you take out the take dimension, to take that out is not that easy, as I'm sure you agree with me. What it actually comes down to is knowing that if I give, since I was a little child, I somehow understood that I was never into give and take. I was always into give and receive. So let's talk about an entirely different dimension of networking. People come to me and say, Marcus, I don't like to network anymore. I said, what happened? That I gave so much. And okay, what's the issue? I never receive. I never get back. And whoever listens here, listen really carefully, because this is so crucial. Most of the times, my friends, when I gave something, I had never received anything back from that individual person. But I knew that the universe will provide. So whenever I give something to someone, be it time, be it an advice, being coaching or whatever, without charging, I know I basically paid into a universal bank. And that universal bank will reimburse me from any different side in the world, which is an amazing thing to know. Basically, you can just give. Because as soon as you believe that you have to receive, you do it conditionally. And I can tell you, the universe works like this. If you do something conditionally, it won't work. You literally disturb the whole process. So in order for you to receive, you have to give. You have to understand this concept. When you give more, the return on investment becomes twofold, and the blessings will just keep on showering you even without asking it. Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely. So you see, the issue in the end is, why don't people do that? And the thing is, because they do not believe that they deserve to receive. And, when I explain the concept of give and take, the dangerous concept about taking from someone, they often tell me, Marcus, that's just figure of speech, right? Figurative speech. And I say, no, it's not. And that's actually another thing, Hiram, really interesting to understand. We don't say anything without reason. And this is all subconsciously driven.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, if I say right at the end all the time, right? People tell me, that's just a habit. No, it's not a habit. That person is insecure and needs confirmation from the other side, whether it be a okay or a not or whatever. So really, we don't do anything without a reason. Universe will definitely revert with million multiplications. Absolutely true. So you see, what it really comes down to, people are lacking courage today. Literally, they're lacking courage. And as you know, I'm going to run my Courageous Leadership Challenge next week, starting coming Monday. And one of the reasons why I actually did that was because I realized all the people I worked with, they had a courage problem. So I actually would like to discuss a little bit, Hiram, what do you understand or how do you define courageous leadership? And as you know, me, leadership can be self-leadership or it can be like literal leadership in management positions. How do you define courageous leadership?
You have to be able to expose yourself. There's leadership principles and there's leadership traits. Myself, as you know, as a military person, prior service, I've learned that those leadership traits are instilled with you by building or being around people that help you redevelop yourself. Those principles that you stand are pretty much non-negotiable leadership principles that help people understand that when I work with Marcus, he can define me, that I have the courage to display these two characteristics, the leadership principles and the leadership traits. My traits are to be able to work with people and everything else. The principles are the principles of what I truly believe that makes me higher. And a lot of people are afraid for that because they don't want to expose themselves, because they find themselves that the minute they expose themselves, they find themselves in a vulnerable state. And they're willing to put it out, but not receive constructive criticism. Like we stated before, Hiram, you can work on this. I hear this, and you're not doing this. This is what you're telling me. And then instead of being insistent and argumentative, I have to be able to understand that those are the dynamics of how people like yourself see it from a different lens, to be able to perpetuate things that can help me be successful, not only for myself, but in reinventing myself. Because if we don't do any personal growth, we'll be dying on every day. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And you touched upon, I would say, the most important thing about courageous leadership. It's the willingness to be vulnerable. Why do you think people have so much issue with being vulnerable?
They're not secure with themselves, Marcus. We live in a society that people put a lot of smoke and mirrors. They create a profile that will overpromises and underdeliver. I'll give you a good example of myself, right? People look at my profile, they have a vision of who I am. How is it that he does this for the veterans? I'm just using this as an analogy. Now they see the profile, you matched it up, and now it's pretty much consistent with I speak to the profile, right? And when I expose it, it's like I'm secure in myself because I know who I am and what I believe. And these are my non-negotiable principles that I feel that are, pretty much my part of my DNA. So when people are fearful or things, they're not secure with themselves. So when they have a conversation with you and you're calm about it, they question themselves because they've been so comfortable with themselves, they've never been challenged. If that makes sense to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you see, what's really interesting, if someone doesn't have that self-assurance, I call it, and is not able or willing to be vulnerable, the other two very important aspects of courageous leadership cannot be present either. The first one is taking calculated risks. If I don't trust myself, I don't trust others, I cannot take calculated risks. And the other one is consistently leading with integrity. If I lack self-assurance, if I lack self-awareness, how can I lead with integrity? So that actually brings me, go ahead, please.
Sorry to interrupt, but here's the thing that people understand. Integrity is the biggest thing. It's an alignment with your character, right? Remember we talked about offline. You can have some illnesses that challenges. You can have some financial challenges and everything else. You can have some professional challenges, that is. But when you lose your character in the midst of trying to excel or sacrificing your character, you sacrifice everything. People don't understand that is your word, your bond is your character. And then when people have a fearful sight, then they want to take it back, but they don't understand that they're exposing the most valuable commodity that makes them an individual in today's society is your character,
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And you actually just put it out there, because the next point I would like to talk about is literally what holds people back in terms of challenges and barriers of being the courageous leader they want to be. The first one you touched upon, it's fear. The other one is self-doubt. And another one, which is really interesting, is resistance from peers.
Mm-hmm.
Being afraid what other people think, being afraid what other people will say or do, right? Which is
Yeah.
incredible.
Well,
Really incredible.
here's the thing. People are touching on it because, look, you're on the other side of the pond, right? And I can say you're looking at it from a different set of lens. Looking here in the United States, we're in the United States, we're totally in disarray. People are so in total disarray. They're so caught up with the way of the world, they've forgotten who they are. They're caught up with the social media premise. They're caught up with, hey, if I create a narrative that goes viral, I will be accepted by social media society that I am
Exactly.
valuable, right? But they don't understand that that's a one-hit wonder. People can have tons and tons, and I've shared with you, I've had posts 4 million, 5 million views.
Right.
But the bottom line is your brand of who you are. They can say, oh, he posts a lot of stuff and everything, but what's the integrity? What's the character of this individual? Let's take them off site of social media. Let's have a one-on-one conversation. Let's find out if this individual has the material or the intellect to articulate things that are very prevalent, not only in the business world, but in society. So when we have this type of dilemma in social media, it has taken away the opportunity to collaborate virtually. Thank God for, COVID is everything else. But here's the thing, Marcus, when you were a senior vice president, we had meetings, board meetings, come in the office.
Absolutely.
Marcus, shake your hand. My name is Marcus. Hey, my name is Hiram Figueroa. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Now the powers of meeting people, you can feel the energy. You can, your body language will tell you indirectly that it will size you up. It will tell you if that person is a good person. This is very limited, right? Because I can script it to a point, but at the end of the day, Marcus, correct me if I'm wrong, you can't, the truth is the truth. You can overpromise and underdeliver, but when people ask you a question and you're not consistent, it is what it is, correct?
Yeah, let me add a real life example to that. I remember when ChatGPT came up, and my peers started frightening and freaking out because they understood now everyone can write great posts and basically pretend, right? Over deliver. And I said to them, guys, why do you actually fear that movement? If you are who you're appearing to be, then you don't have to be afraid of ChatGPT. ChatGPT will be a huge friend of yours. But here comes the test in terms of the pudding. In the end, you have to actually stand your person when it comes to either a sales call or an interview or whatever. And that's what people do not understand. As you so often shared, you are a real enthusiast in terms of working out. At the moment, it feels to me like people are working out from their homes through a simulator.
Mm-hmm.
They've never even touched a machine. They don't know how it feels to touch a machine, the real weight, They don't see their muscles, building up and their veins and everything. And I believe that's something people have to understand, that they have to get back into real life situations again. So let me have a look at Joe. You have to understand who you are and what you want in life first. Once you understand that you're able to move regardless of the fear that you feel. That's exactly what it is, Joe. Thank you very much for leading to the next point, because I would like to talk next about developing courageous leadership. And you see, what's really interesting, what it's all about, it's about self-awareness, what Joe just said. Self-awareness in terms of who am I? Literally, who am I? And the thing is, what would you say, Hiram, the people you met in life, be it in career or, yeah, let's say in career,
So in
out of
career,
100, how many do you believe have really self-awareness?
less than 1%. And the
Yeah,
reason why I say that is because it takes, the numbers are the numbers. You can't beat the numbers and the numbers can't beat you, but there's an assessment of the analytics when it comes to leadership, when it comes to business, when it comes to all these dynamics. There's going to be specific skill set that's going to separate the winners from the pretenders. And it's going to tell me exactly why this person is at this high level that I can't understand, but I need to be at this person's level to be able to excel to where I need to be at. But the other people,
beautiful.
are just like, oh, well, they become very judgmental. Why pass
Right.
judgment for a person that has been able to elevate their game? Because
Yeah,
what, it's reminding you that you're not leveling up.
yeah,
So what people don't understand, for me, I'm an advocate for veterans and veterans' rights, former martial
yeah,
arts, fighter, I do everything. But here's the thing, I'm passionate about giving back. And people don't understand that you have to be courageous for giving back. If priests give back, if you got public servants, I'm considered a public servant on social media. So when people don't realize that, they go like, what's the catch? That's your problem. That's not mine. My
right.
problem, that's not my issue. My concern is giving back to people, helping other people because they're suffering in silence. And here's a
Yeah,
great opportunity for people like ourselves to collaborate and put it out there for this platform.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's by the way, guys, why we do what we do, because we really want to give back and we want to help people who maybe never come across me in person or virtually. So please use the opportunity and show us questions you have, give us your comments, and really be courageous and share what you feel and let's tackle those things.
Yeah. I believe that a lot of people are so consumed, they weaponize themselves that, from every possible, they have unresolved issues that they don't become their authentic self. And they learn that, hey, I've been successful at this far. Who are you to tell me? Well, guess what? You're only as good as yesterday. Yesterday is gone. There's 860,000 seconds in the day. It's deposited in your life. You have to start from scratch and you have to do it all over again. And this is where people don't understand. I should be, the minute they say I, right? They feel insecure. This is just my perspective. This is just my take on it. I am this. Well, that's fine. But if other people see you and they see your actions, you don't need to advocate that unless they don't understand the language. Correct?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And you see, Hiram, what Joe said before, I translated into the negative. What people are lacking is self-awareness. So if it's all right for you, I would like to elaborate a little bit more about the upcoming challenge next week. Is that okay for you?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll let you go, and then we'll put the next question up. Okay.
Perfect. Yes. So what we're going to do next week, we will start Monday. We will meet Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday for 1 hour precise. You can leave after 1 hour. We might have a Q&A later, but basically it's 1 hour. It's very conversational, and it is about the following topics. On day one, Monday, it's about understanding authenticity and leadership. So the goal is really to unveil how authenticity is the key to effective leadership. And as I said, leadership can be self-leadership as an entrepreneur. It can be as a corporate leader. It can be as a manager. It doesn't really matter. Day two is basically the translation from day one, where we talk about navigating self-discovery and self-awareness. What it's about there is I'll introduce you to my technique, which I've developed a while ago, which will enhance your self-awareness. As Joe so rightfully said, it's the absolute key to develop self-awareness. And in the end, it helps you reshape your leadership style, which is so crucial. Then day 3, which is Friday, it's all about building authentic relationships and trust. You must heard it so often, Hiram. It's about know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
And I deeply believe that most people fail with the trust part.
Oh,
People tell me, Marcus, it takes so long to develop trust with someone. I said, bullshit. It takes long if you don't know how to do it and what it takes. How long did it take the two of us to develop trust?
it didn't take
What
that
would you
long.
say?
Yeah, it didn't take that long, Marcus. I say in a couple of days, right? Because we're dancing around, we're kind of virtually dating each other, right? And people don't
Yeah,
understand that that is the premise of when you're collaborating, we are professionally dating, and you're dating to see, it's like speed dating. Hey, what are
yeah,
you? What are you doing? What is it? Fine. Now, after 5 minutes or the first 5 minutes, you're going to get a vibe of exactly who you're dealing with. And you're going to say, oh,
exactly.
I'm not a fit. Thank you very much. Or you're going to find out there's an underlying issue. Hey, I want something from you. Maybe I'll do something for you. I need something for you.
I
Maybe
mean,
I'll.
that's how long it took us on the call, by the way.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
more than 5 minutes.
Right.
Not more than 5 minutes. So on day 3, which is Friday, we are going to talk about how to develop authentic relationships and that trust, which is definitely the most important currency today. If you can foster trust within your teams and organizations, wow, you have what it takes. And then Sunday, we finish with a Q&A session and celebration. It basically is about clarity, sharing your insights, and celebrate the progress you've made. You can either join one session. I highly recommend you join Monday, which is the kickoff at 12 noon Eastern time. It's every day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 12 noon Eastern time. And I have added the link to the registration page if you're interested or want to learn more into the chat, so you can look it up in the chat.
Yeah. What you
So
could
now
do.
let's go to the next questions.
So everybody's saying yes, thank you, agree. But if you can do one more time, just put it in the chat again for them. But here's the thing that I could share with you, right? A lot of people, including myself, we think we're very successful. They think it's monetary. It's really not monetary because you as an individual can bring significant success that create multiple opportunities in business. Everybody has a definition. Oh, the one with the most toys win. I have this. I have that. All right. You have a house. You have millions of dollars. Okay, let's do this. Let me take it away from you. Let's see what you got. Right. So in the Marine Corps, when I was a drill instructor, we had these kids come in, and I come from everything else. Shave their head, lost their personality. They had the deer in the headlights look. Now I lost my personality because they shaved their head. Now we're breaking them down. It's the same approach in business. Here's my resume. Here's my cover letter. Marcus, you as an HR representative, a vice president, you can read the bullshit that's in there, right?
Oh,
Now, here we go. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
yeah,
People practice.
exactly.
I'm sitting there. I've learned, and especially with you, is more or less like, tell me a little about yourself. I just keep it short and brief. I'm an individual that can do X, Y, Z. I've come
Yeah,
to this point where I can be able to bring these transferable skills, and I'm looking to seek an opportunity to be able to see if I'm a fit with the organization, right or wrong. And at the end of the day, and the end of this conversation, I would like some constructive feedback in the event I'm not successful to be able to better myself. And people don't get that.
I imagine how they felt at the opposite side hearing that,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what they've been praying for years to hear. for years, you know, literally for years. So once you get that, you're absolutely all set.
And this goes for the veterans as well, right? You have a lot of veterans, and as I tell you, as an advocate for veterans and veterans' right, that's like a public servant. It doesn't go away. It's not clocked out. But here it is, Marcus, like yourself, you come from a high tier level of vice president, executive leadership, right? Where I started from frontline to mid management, and there's a different tier level with everything that has to be able to say. So a constructive question. See what Mr. Alpha had meant by a constructive question on that one, Marcus.
Tell me a bit more about yourself. I think that's what Alf meant.
Yeah. So getting back to this is where people are not going to school to learn how to sell themselves.
No.
And people don't understand that when they go to a nightclub, when they go to an outing, they're indirectly selling themselves because they're telling who they are and they're networking.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All of a sudden they come to a business setting. I got to check the boxes. I need to know the STAR system: situation, task, action, result.
Yeah.
I need to be able to present the cover letter. I need to know exactly what KPIs are. I need to know what the KSAs are: knowledge, skills, and ability. How can I be able to do that and be successful? Then you know what, Marcus? This is where they tell on themselves because they're too scripted. Correct?
Yeah. You see, the thing is, like, if you understand those things, you actually already beat at least half of the applications, by the way. That's really interesting. So if people just brought that to the table, which you just said, those KPIs and all these other things, that would be already awesome. Most people forget about that. But you see what it really comes down to. But that's the first 30 seconds introduction is very critical. Actually, let me talk a little bit about that, Leo. This is such an interesting point. And if you don't mind, Leo, I'd like to do a little interview with you. You just can type your answer. What would you say is the most important point at an interview? Let's say the interview lasts 1 hour, 60 minutes. What would you say is the most important point in an interview? If you can pinpoint that, Leo.
So while Leo is going to respond to it, it's as I stated before, right? People forget themselves, and then they are not comfortable in a professional setting because they know who they are, right? They know who they are.
It's worse. They don't.
Well, yeah, they don't. They think
that's the problem.
They know
if they ever knew it and forgot about it, they could remember. No, they have never known who they were. They were identified by the outer world. Mommy and daddy told them who they are. Schools told them who they are. Society told them who they are. If they ever knew who they are, it would be so easy to help them.
Well,
with most people, it's a total unlearning of who they believe they are. That's the tragic.
Leo got a response for you.
Okay, I surprise probably everyone right now. There is only one moment you have to pay attention to, and that's the absolute final moment when you say goodbye, when the interview ends. I can tell you, I have experienced people so clumsy, so nervous that they spilled coffee on the table, on my documents as a HR manager. And that usually would have blown the interview. I just smirked and said, look, that can happen. So anything that happens throughout a conversation, it does not matter as long as you react positively to it. But when you get to the final of the interview, that's the only thing you cannot change anymore. It's not even so much the handshake. It's literally the last impression you leave with that person. And you see, handshake, by the way, is an interesting thing. I think a couple of sessions ago, we spoke about body language. And some of my colleagues, they train body language. I say body language cannot be trained. It can be trained in a simulation, right? But what drives body language? It's self-worth, self-awareness. It's my understanding about self. It's self-confidence. That's what drives my body language in the end. So even my handshake, if I am confident about what I'm presenting, you said it so beautifully, Hiram. I came here to show you that I can do the job, that I want to do the job, and that I'm a fit. And I want to find out whether that's the case. And that's exactly what it is. When you left, you shook their hands with a natural, confident handshake.
That's correct.
You didn't have to pretend to be the former drill master who breaks the other person's stupidly hands, right? I tell you, I had people, I wore, when I was engaged, I wore my ring on the right side. One person almost broke my finger. He so much crushed my hand. Since then, I wore my ring to the left because I did not want to experience that pain anymore. And I thought, gosh, if that's what presenting strength is, goodness me, are we poor. So literally, don't even think about handshake. Handshake is a result. Handshake is a symptom. Prepare yourself, be confident about what you're doing, and you do not have to worry about handshake at all. What steps did you take in order to figure out who you are? That's a beautiful question, Joe. And this is literally what I am going to teach in the next week. Because as you can imagine, if I say self-awareness, I can give you some hints to it. What I did, I sought a lot of feedback from other people. I asked a lot of questions to other people. And basically what I did, I asked for mirrors showing me who I am. That's what I was doing. I was asking so many questions to people who I knew want the best for me. Never dare to do that to people who hate you, who are envy of you. That's absolutely detrimental. So that's how I started. I defined some questions. I give you one question, Joe. I asked one question, and that was, what do you value the most about me? That was one question. A very easy, non-dangerous question. Another questions I asked, for example, a peer of mine, which leadership quality do you admire the most with me? Or which three strengths would you say define me? So you see, it's literally going out and asking for feedback. So I hope that helps, Joe. And I really, really invite you to join next week, at least the Monday session, everyone who's here. So thank you very much, Ankit. Marcus, building on your comment, part of challenge is maturity. People are not in sync with the subconscious reaction to situations. People who understand what behind that are in very strong positions to drive the career professional journey forward. Yes, you're absolutely right. And now I might shock you, Ankit. I am a very social person, but I can tell you, I do not care so much about other people anymore. Literally. And when people come and say, why don't you actually give your services, the best thing for free, of course, to everybody who needs them? I said, why? Most of the times, why they are where they are, Hiram, and that might be a little bit harsh, it is because of their mindset. It's because of their attitude. I love working with people who define themselves as high achievers, who have understood the principle of success. And you, as an ex-military man, what is the principle of success? Do the work.
Just do the work. Do
the work.
Just do the
Goodness
work.
me.
Just handle it.
And as you know, working with me, there is not so much, but why? The question is how? And can you explain to me how?
Well,
that's what it comes down to.
So when you read, I got a couple. Leo's been popping up with questions. Just read it. But here's the thing, right? We talked about, I want to work out. Stop talking about working out. Just handle it. You're
simply do it.
You're convincing yourself to take an action. Here's my philosophy. At the end of the day, time waits for no one, right?
Yeah.
We had, I told you I had a scenario at the gym. The guy got stupid. At the end of the day, if you're going to do something, stop verbalizing what you're going to, stop telegraphing what you're
Right.
going to,
Right.
because you're giving people a heads up of what you're going to. Just take action. Take action on
Yeah.
what you believe in and let everybody see your results, right?
Yeah.
The most successful people work in quiet. While everybody is talking about themselves, there are people putting their head down to be able to execute and set it up,
Yeah.
So go read this.
I'm dying to go into conversation with Leo Hiram. Yes, handshake is important. Your grip, your eye contact, and natural presence. Please allow me, Leo, to deconstruct a little bit what you wrote. And please bring it back, Hiram,
right.
the one Leo just posted. Thank you. It all starts with a natural presence. If you are someone who really believes in training body language, that's fantastic. I applaud you. I personally do not believe in it. I show you why. The natural presence, that's exactly what it comes down to. What's in here gets displayed outside. Guess what? My handshake might be trained. My grip might be trained. My eye contact might be trained. But guess what? My natural presence betrays me. Betrays me. Hiram, how many people I met in this world, in my career and in personal life, who had this handshake, who had the grip, who had the eye contact. But somehow I felt that's not congruent with who they really are. And
Integrity.
honestly, guys, exactly. Honestly, if it's not really built in as your core, don't try to be confident. That doesn't come across really well. And even my colleagues who are HR managers who are not trained in how I am, they sense that. You sense if someone is not congruent in terms of the handshake, even if it's a nice grip, if it's a nice eye contact. So what I'm saying, Leo, is I'm not disputing what you're saying. It's absolutely true. But guess what? Instead of pretending to have this kind of a action taken, why not actually build your foundation accordingly so your handshake becomes naturally strong? Like I can tell you, there's so many female, they fear to shake hands with men because they believe that handshake is something which displays their manliness. Sorry, it's stupidity. It's stupidity. I can tell you, if they even were able to almost break my hand, goodness me, how must a woman feel who shakes man's hands? So let me see, the person viewing you will also feel your natural presence, whether you're ready, confident, you're telling them who you are. Absolutely. And what it comes down to, Leo, and everyone else, you can prepare that. And that's what I'm going to teach next week. You can develop this foundation that people actually feel your natural presence. They feel you're ready. They feel you're confident. And they feel that you are showing up as who you are. But believe me, a child can read us if we pretend to be someone we are not. Even a child can do that. How can I narrow down the only quality people, the group of master vision? Okay. First of all, Leo, it's a lot of trial and error. And if I look at your questions, they are technical, and at the same time, I feel you're a very intuitive person. So what it comes down to is literally listen to your gut feeling, listen to your intuition, ask people who you trust. Maybe they can introduce you to people who are really at the level which you would like to interact with. But it's a lot of trial and error, especially in the beginning. Amazing information and a lot for you now. It's my pleasure, Leo, and I would really love to welcome you next week in my challenge. So think about just joining Monday, looking in and see whether it will be something for you, because I really believe you could benefit a lot from that challenge. So thank you very much, Leo, for the interaction.
So a lot of people don't understand that why we give ourselves to this platform, right? Because there are individuals that believe of being public servant. It's people, they capitalize, they monetize stuff, but at the same time, if you give back to society, if you give back as energy, it comes back to you tenfold. People don't
Yeah.
understand at the end of the day, all this that we have, you cannot take it with you. But you want to leave a legacy for people to understand how dynamic you were, what impact you have, and what kind of legacy did you have, and especially in today's age. And a lot of people don't understand, myself being on LinkedIn Perspective, I just happened, it's going to be 2 years now. I didn't know that I've been able to do this
Congrats.
town hall. And then a lot of people need, oh, I want to be on your show. And I said that, that's fine. You want to be on your show, but you got to bring some significant value. And you got to bring something that you can't be in a tangent because you want to be on a show so people can see you virtually. Hey, I was on a podcast. Okay. You on a podcast, but what did you bring to the table? What did you leave the audience wanting more? What is it that you can say that when people are interviewing you or seeing you, what are you telling about yourself? In this instance, we're both being public service, and I like to thank LinkedIn for this LinkedIn Perspective podcast. But if you like this segment of LinkedIn Perspective, share it, like it, tag it. I have a YouTube channel that I've been activating it here. It's called LinkedIn Live, episode 141, I believe I have right here, going through the chats. But some final thoughts there, Marcus, for them, so people can understand, so we can wrap this up for leave them wanting more.
Yeah. So first, thank you very much for being present and interacting so courageously, really, because it takes courage to ask your questions and to state your opinion. What it really comes down to is stop thinking that you have to continue pretending to be someone who you're not, because you are not who you actually would like to be. And for that, I very much invite you to join me. And by the way, more than 25 people, by the way, already, who have signed up for the next free challenge, Courageous Leadership. And sign up, join Monday, and see if it fits you. And if not, then you spend at least 1 hour and you learned a lot. So thank you very much, Hiram. It was a totally pleasure again. And I look forward to our next sessions.
So we're going to be doing the next session. It's going to be in the next couple of weeks. But for those individuals that are looking on the podcast, if you're looking for someone like myself that can utilize this platform to your benefit as well, I can help you, coach you, to help you get in there. My services are available. Nothing is for free, but the same thing is at the same time, you get what you pay for, right? And
That's exactly my message.
I don't advertise that I am a LinkedIn expert. I don't advertise that, I have a LinkedIn podcast. But the one thing is the results speak for themselves. At the end of the day, I can tell you this, that people need some kind of guidance. People need this, opportunity, but nothing is for free. We're doing this out of the kindness of our hearts. But at the same time, if you want champagne, you can't bring beer money. That's how it is. So people need to understand.
That's exactly what it is. You get what you pay for. That's exactly what it is.
You get what you pay for. People want, I want to be this, I want to do this. Well, understand there's, business is business. But, at the end of the day, Marcus and myself have collaborated. We're doing this for a number of things. We solidify who we are, and we do everything possible. Here, read this, Marcus.
LinkedIn marketing, it's all about interacting, engaging, ask questions, and present as conversation residentially. Slowly start getting your own opinion or content as well. Yeah, that's a nice one. You actually don't have to wait too long. If you know how to do it, first be more interested and then become interesting. Then it really works. And Hiram, one of the reasons, just so you know, guys, here in Switzerland, it's 7:30 p.m. And my friends probably would say, why don't you do something else? One of the reasons why I'm here is because I want to fulfill and I want to leave a legacy. And each session I'm spending here with Hiram is part of my legacy. And that's why I'm doing it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you like this segment of LinkedIn Perspective, share it, like it, tag it. Enjoy your weekend. If you're interested in Marcus Newcomb's leadership challenge, look him up on his page, right? Sign up. Don't be afraid. You probably
And I
learn
left
something.
a comment in the comment section as well.
Yeah, leave a comment and tag us. So enjoy your weekend. For all you veterans out there, if you have any questions, we'll help you out. Simplify, enjoy your weekend. Peace out. Ready, Marcus?